Hey everyone, welcome to the NFL Hub where we discuss the past, present, and future of the game of football. Today we will be covering one of the most lucrative stories in recent memory. Antonio Brown, former All-Pro wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, has found himself in a rabbit hole of downright controversy. Today we will be covering every major event in his timeline of decline. That being said, let's get into it. Where this all started was Week 17 of 2018. Brown, after skipping practice for several days in a row before a pivotal matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, is ruled inactive for their Week 17 clash. He later claims he was dissatisfied with his role in Pittsburgh and demanded a trade. This moves us all the way to March 9th, 2019, after months of bashing the Steelers on Twitter and giving interviews in which he claims he doesn't even have to play football. Brown is traded to the Oakland Raiders for a 3rd and a 5th round pick. Talk about a deal that the Steelers definitely won. Oakland signed him to a $50 million contract with $30 million in guarantees. Come August 3rd, 2019, Antonio Brown posts pictures of his feet after he contracted frostbite on social media. The injury would force him to miss all but one of Oakland's training camp practices. Most of the public was introduced to the frostbite mishap by an absolutely gut-wrenching post on Antonio Brown's Instagram story. I promise you, not one person asked or wanted to see the damage done to Antonio Brown's feet. Just 6 days later, on August 9th, 2019, Antonio Brown filed a grievance against the NFL, petitioning them to allow him to wear his old helmet, which was deemed unsafe by the league. After threatening to retire because of it and filing a second grievance, Brown decided on the Zenith Shadow helmet. So essentially, Brown went on a 2-grievance crying spree in an attempt to wear an unsafe helmet. If you look at Brown's actions this year, he needs all of the head protection he can get because he simply doesn't seem right at all. On September 4th, 2019, Brown was fined by general manager Mike Mayock for repeated unexcused absences. This is where things between Brown and Mike Mayock started to really pick up. For some reason, Brown's complex was so large that he thought being disciplined by the general manager of his team wasn't possible because he was in fact Antonio Brown. The next day, on September 5th, 2019, after suiting up in just one preseason game in Oakland, Brown had an emotional confrontation with Mike Mayock, even calling him a cracker. A cracker. Antonio Brown called his old general manager a cracker. A cracker. Brown apologized the following day. On September 7th, 2019, Antonio Brown demanded that the Raiders trade or release him, and they did, the latter voiding any guarantees left in his contract. With all of that drama, he never played a single regular season game for the Raiders, and he lost out on all the guarantees, $30 million, in his contract, making virtually no money for his time in Oakland. Most of us liked this because he absolutely did not deserve the guaranteed money, especially after his repeated misconduct. Regardless of that, though, Brown agreed to a 1-year, $15 million deal with, of course, the New England Patriots the same day, and the Patriots strengthened their offense as they looked to repeat as champions. On September 10th, 2019, Antonio Brown was accused by Brittany Taylor, a former trainer, of sexual assault on 3 separate occasions. Brown allegedly exposed himself to her, dispensed on her back and raped her. Now, I'm not going to say whether I feel if he is guilty or not, but I will say I don't like the way the NFL handled this situation. A while after the accusation came out, Antonio Brown wasn't granted permission to play. In my opinion, they treated AB like he was guilty until proven innocent, which is unfair, but either way, that's how it went. 5 days later, on September 15th, 2019, AB got to play his first game of the 2019 season, where he caught 4 passes for 56 yards and a touchdown in New England's 43-0 win over the Miami Dolphins. That was the only game he would play in the 2019 season. 5 days later, under constant media pressure given the nature of allegations put against Antonio Brown, Bill Belichick cut him. His time in New England only lasted 13 days, in which Antonio Brown played 1 game. Talk about disappointing for Antonio Brown. We got a break for about 20 days, but this is on October 19th, 2019. Brittany Taylor actually dropped the civil case against Antonio Brown, but he was still under investigation from the league, which is absolutely ridiculous. Because of the investigation from the league, he still wasn't allowed to play for the rest of the year, and if he did get signed by a team, he would have likely been placed on the commissioner's exempt list until the quote-unquote investigation was over, which Roger Goodell would have extended to the rest of the year. About a month later, on November 21st, 2019, for some reason he waited a whole another month after Taylor dropped the case. Antonio Brown actually countersued Brittany Taylor, calling the allegations she made fake and defamatory. On December 14th, 2019, Antonio Brown made the baffling decision to live stream a confrontation he had with Hollywood police officers outside of his home. This was just the beginning of Brown's issues with law enforcement. 13 days later, even after months upon months of non-stop Twitter rants and rap music videos, Antonio Brown got a workout against all odds from the New Orleans Saints, who are actually my personal favorite team. The Saints, while impressed with his skill, did not sign him, and that was likely because he disobeyed an order not to bring cameras with him. Sean Payton specifically told Antonio Brown to show up with himself and not an entourage, but he decided to bring a camera crew. Brown himself later called the entire workout a publicity stunt because the New Orleans Saints, in fact, did not sign him. We got a break until about January 16th, 2020, where Drew Rosenhaus, Brown's agent, severed his relationship with Antonio Brown until he quote-unquote gets help. This was the most shocking non-AB part of the AB story to me. Drew was someone that was defending every stupid mistake and even endorsing them at times by Antonio. It was crazy to see him turn his back on Antonio Brown after seeing that he has serious problems. 5 days later, on January 21st, Brown and trainer Glenn Holt were accused of burglarizing and batterying a moving truck driver. The driver claims Brown was high and began throwing stones at his truck before eventually making their way inside the truck and assaulting him. Why? Who does this? Antonio Brown has serious problems. The next day, a warrant is issued for Antonio Brown's arrest, and it's related to that battery case. Brown locks himself inside of his Hollywood home as he tries to avoid the police, which he kept up for about a day before he realized the realness of the situation. The next day, Antonio Brown ended his standoff with police and was taken into custody. He was released on a $110,000 bail, but his reputation is gone. He literally could have faced a life sentence at that point. Of course, his charges will be lowered and he won't be facing or charged with life, but the fact that that was still a question to begin with because of the amount of charges he has compiled over the past couple of years is absolutely insane. He is still awaiting trial, though, and could face potential jail time. That's about it for the saga of Antonio Brown, his fall from grace to being one of the best receivers in football to absolutely nothing. But there's still some things to talk about, and that's what's going on currently. Well, when you look at the current landscape of things with Antonio, you can see that he has his name tied with Logan Paul's name quite a bit. There is a legitimate chance that Antonio Brown and Logan Paul step into the boxing ring. Logan Paul, one of the pioneers of YouTube boxing, challenged Brown months ago. There has been no agreement from the team representing Antonio Brown, but Logan Paul has placed all of the details down on the table. Logan's team showed AB the revenue, time, place, but he still hasn't agreed to terms. That may change soon, though, because just 3 days ago, Antonio Brown said this on his Instagram Live. If you want me to drop a diss record, put it right there. But I don't need to diss nobody, you know? A shirtless Brown says while flexing on Instagram Live. If you want to fight, let's just fight. I can knock him out already. If you want to fight, let's just fight, you know? We don't have to talk. We can just fight. Let's just fight. Let's just fight. Let's go. So you can see that Antonio Brown is kind of on his high horse, and he wants to take a dig at Jake or Logan Paul. So if this does happen, that'll be a very interesting event to watch. What do you think about Antonio Brown personally? Do you think he's rational? Do you think he might have CTE? Let us know down in the comment section below, because in my opinion, he has not been the same since that Vontaze Burfict hit. Make sure to comment suggestions below if you have any. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all that fancy stuff, and we'll see you guys next time on the NFL Hub. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.